Good afternoon, everyone. We're in for a treat today. Are you ready? Yes. You've had your lunch, your coffee, I hope, your afternoon coffee. Okay. So first, I would like to thank Chautauqua Institution's Department of Religion for inviting me to share a few words with you this afternoon. And the title of my talk, I just want to repeat it because there's a key term that I want you to keep in mind as I move through the talk today. Digital crossroads. Everyone, I want you to say crossroads with me. Crossroads, you're with me. I'll have these moments throughout the talk when I'll ask you to talk to me just to make sure you're with me, okay? So, digital crossroads, an exploration of Black religious identities in the digital age. Today, I want to invite you to join me on a quest. Overall, this talk is a lot like a quest chain composed of 3 progressive mini-quests. Your challenge: to search for meaning as we engage each of these in-talk quests, decoding each of their significance in relationship to the overall objective of this talk. Before embarking on the first quest, though, it's important to provide you with contextual grounding. This initial move is similar to an opening narrative that is provided to players of quest-based video games. Any video gamers in here? All right, so you're with me. This preface begins with a quote. The quote will be followed by a story. Here's the quote. "I personally don't think you can cast a spell on an Alabama hoodoo practitioner." You ever met anybody from Alabama? Is anybody from Alabama in here? All right. You ever met anybody from Alabama? They quick to say, "What go around, come around." You might want to think about it. End quote. Practitioners of Africana religions like hoodoo can be found across various social media platforms. Content posted by the proprietor of Memphis Conjure Hoodoo Supply on TikTok were most frequented by me during my multi-year journey into the digital world of practitioners. One video in particular struck a chord with me, this one. Her testament to the power of Alabama hoodoo, captured in the opening quote, not only prompted me to think about the practice in my family, but also how hoodoo represented one of the many ways that Black folks employed technologies drawn from Africana religious traditions to make a way out of no way. In this 12-second TikTok video, she talks about the power of Alabama hoodoo. Blessed seeds, protection oils, fast luck powders, and Jesus sticks. All of these are objects that were carefully hidden around my childhood home in Pritchett, Alabama. As a kid, I did not have the language to describe them, nor did I have the courage to ask my mother why she felt the need to conceal these objects. My profound interest in both Africana religious studies, which I want to just put a pin here. Africana religious traditions are those traditions that are practiced by those of African descent, where some of the cultural elements within those traditions can be traced back to indigenous traditions, religious traditions in Africa. So my profound interest in both Africana religious studies and digital religious studies have provided me with the language to describe the rich esoteric traditions that my mom practiced during my childhood. These objects are what I call techno-conjuring devices. Yeah, like that? Are technical tools strategically implemented to rearrange nature to obtain desired results. For instance, my mom added white crystals with black specks to my bathwater to ensure good physical health. She carefully applied oil to me and my brothers, oh, I hated this, by the way, arms, legs, and necks to create a protective shield around us. Given the environmental conditions of our neighborhood, this protection was warranted. Money-drawing powders were used to supplement the less than $10,000 a year she earned working 2 jobs. The smoke from the Jesus sticks, permeated throughout our home with the aim of keeping evil spirits away. As an adult, my mother allowed me access into her work. She shared with me the twofold propelling force behind her successful implementations of these conjuring devices. And for my mother, she says, you know it worked because you're delivering a lecture at Chautauqua Institution. So it worked, Mom. First, an intention must be set. Defining the overall function according to her was done in secret consultation with the mother-daughter conjuring team at the House of Blessing in Alabama. Second, she, as the operator of the device, had to call forth or command the intended function to run. Sounds a lot like basic programming in JavaScript, right? Verses from the Bible became her language of command that ran the program, converting intentions into tangible desired outcomes in the form of good health, protection, and economic security. This trip down memory lane serves a purpose. What I witnessed was my mother's use of techno-conjuring devices to create third space opportunities. Crossroads. Okay, somebody was listening in class. In her use of conjure to secure targeted results, she brought together 2 seemingly oppositional worlds. Crossroads. It is within that overlapping space that I witnessed my mother practice conjure without any notion that this work was in direct conflict with her belief in Christianity. These techno-conjuring devices, conjoined with Christianity, allowed her to make a way out of no way and to articulate a complex understanding of herself. She was both a conjurer and a Christian, period. Thus, she moved in a crossroad manner between 2 seemingly oppositional identities. What I witnessed as a child were technological uses of Africana religious culture, which included diverse derivatives of Christianity, to meet various social, emotional, psychical, physical, and financial needs. Even more so, this usage provided marginally positioned individuals like my mother an opportunity to understand themselves in complex ways, constructing identities in those intersectional spaces of in-betweenness, which for the purposes of this talk, I identify as crossroad identities. The variety of ways that practitioners of Africana religions engage analog and digital technologies to express these liminal self-identities is the overall goal of our quest today. Specifically, we will briefly examine how Black witches, hoodoo practitioners, and Black gamers, I'm putting them all together, witches, hoodooists, and gamers, engage technologies like social media, biohacking, and digital gaming to construct these crossroad identities. So let's start our quest. Are we ready? Yes. We begin our first mini quest with a quote from Danya Coles, who self-identifies as a Black witch. Has anyone ever heard of Black witches? Okay. These are her words. The world of technology is treated as if it is untouched by the forces we witches manipulate and call magic, but it isn't. Technology is not just another thing. Technology is just another thing we manipulate. It is another thing in our toolkit to help us live our best lives. Technology may seem off limits to magical influences, but it is far from it, end quote. Magic is commonly defined as the ritualistic manipulation of materiality to ascertain desired outcomes. Tarot cards, astrological charts, herbs, candles, and jewelry are examples of tools used in witchcraft. Technology, according to Danya Coles, is another viable tool. For her, the relationship between technology and witchcraft is one best characterized by harmony, not opposition. Technology's mundaneness can be repurposed for magical uses. The body, in all of its cyclical, emotional, and physical dimensions, is also a powerful instrument of witchcraft. For witches of color like Coles, digital platforms can be harnessed to prominently display the magical powers of Black women. These powers quite often take the form of complex identities that manifest themselves at the crossroad between individuality and collectivity. This interconnection between technology, magic, and identity can be found in the social media worlds of witches of color. A Google search, and try this at home, a Google search for witches of color produces over 1 million hits. Result pages highlight articles, podcasts, popular cultural representations in the form of comics, web series, and music, social gatherings, and related websites like Black Witch University, Black Femme Witches Brew, all related to women or to witches of African descent. Also included among these hits are several social media accounts that are associated with individual witches of color and communities composed of members who often refer to themselves as Black witches. For instance, Witches of color can be found on community blogs like Tumblr. Here, communities like Black Spiritualism, Witches of Color, Black Witches, Black Witch Space, and African American Witch feature blogs and curated images to discuss and to capture the dynamic world of witchcraft as practiced by those of African descent. While a small number of witches of color are active on discussion sites like Reddit, they don't like Reddit. Go figure. Their activities are most prominent on Twitter. I still call it Twitter. I know it's X, but it's Twitter. Twitter, Instagram, and most recently, TikTok. Examples of popular Twitter hashtags includes hashtag Black Witches Matter, hashtag Spiritual Black Girls, hashtag Black Girl Magic, hashtag Black Woman Magic, and hashtag Blitch. Blitch, Black Witches, Blitch. Individual witches of color like Hood Witch and Afro Mystic use Instagram and Twitter respectively to highlight their craft. For instance, due to her savvy usage of Instagram, Hood Witch has almost 500,000 followers and has become a globally known witch of color whose practice has been featured in Glamour, Vice, Huffington Post, and the New York Times. Afro Mystic, who is the creator of hashtag Blitch, defines this term as a Black witch using knowledge of African thought, African diasporic spiritual practice, divination, ancestral veneration, and African healing modalities to heal and fortify those communities of African descent. In addition to having a presence on Instagram and Twitter, some witches of color are joining digital covens on TikTok. So for instance, you see many of them on Witch Talk. On Witch Talk, witches of color like Gothic Trash Panda, Aeronox, Cherry Pied, Ses Bonbon post short videos of tarot readings, spell casting, astrological forecasting, and ancestral venerations. One of my favorite ancestral veneration is the Juneteenth candle burning that you see happening on TikTok. Captured across these various social media platforms are representations of Black witches' desires to construct identities at the crossroads between individuality and collectivity. These desired self-identities are most evident in their personal and collective resistance to racialized acts of dehumanization. For instance, in 2020, many Black witches used their social media platforms to collectively protest state-sanctioned violence against Black men and Black women in the US. Their ritually instigated goals of collective survival and protection allowed Black witches to express a view of themselves in relationship to the group. In this way, they were intrinsically motivated to sacrifice a sense of uniqueness for the sake of the common cause. However, witches at other times used their platforms to take their own personal approach to protesting racial inequalities. They made their own unique contribution. For instance, one Black witch performed a protection spell for Black Lives Matter protesters on TikTok, while another employed her podcasting platform to provide commentary about police violence in her local area. The ability of these individual Black witches to exercise personal agency, not just in matters of social justice, but in their practices more generally, highlight the desire to express personalized self-identities. In this manner, witchcraft endows the Black witch with the power to not only differentiate herself from the group, but to more importantly, to conjoin with the group, but more importantly, utilize this personal differentiation to articulate a self-identity based upon individuality and uniqueness. The unwillingness of Black witches to sacrifice individuality or collectivity demonstrates their desire to articulate a dynamic mode of self. No matter the platform, the prevalent usage of social media by witches of color cannot simply be regarded as yet another example of mysticor. Their presence on these platforms is not just a trendy attraction to occult traditions and practices. What they offer in these spaces, these digital spaces, are nuanced views of witchcraft that celebrates blended forms of Africana practices, that embraces the Blackness of their skin, and that cherishes the human potential to alter everyday life realities through material manipulations. In other words, they use social medias to tell their stories. And these stories, in turn, allows them to construct complex modes of identity that manifest themselves at the very intersections between witchcraft and digital media. While Black witches engage interactive digital technologies, hoodoo practitioners engage both digital and analog modes of technology to articulate complex modes of religious identities. Specifically, they use hoodoo, which is defined here as a malleable system of practices that includes Africana religious traditions, but is not mutually exclusive of other religions and spiritualities to promote human augmentation. Our second mini quest, then, are you ready for the second quest? Yeah. All right, I just need to make sure you're with me. It's getting quiet. Our second mini quest then explores how hoodoo is a viable forerunner to the contemporary biohacking movement. I'm going to get in trouble. I know it. The transhumanists, when this book is published, I'm in trouble. Biohacking is a branch of transhumanism. How many people ever heard of biohacking? Good. Biohacking is for those who haven't, I'm going to tell you what it is right now. Biohacking is a branch of transhumanism. One of its primary objectives is to employ a diverse range of cutting-edge technologies to achieve optimal levels of physiological performance through the enhancement of human embodiment. That's just one definition. These technologies include germline genetic engineering like CRISPR, as well as grinding. So grinding is the insertion of implantable devices into the body. So has anyone heard of Neuralink? Elon Musk? That would be an example of grinding, right? So grinding is the insertion of implantable devices into the body. The body for biohackers is seen as a hackable entity. So a lot like hackers can hack computers, biohackers believe that you can hack the body. It is limited and constantly, the body is limited and constantly susceptible to fragmentation. Scientific processes and technological devices become viable ways to counter these fragilities by enhancing the overall performance of the body. Biohackers are saying that our bodies need help, and science and technology can help our bodies. Biohacking conceives of human embodiment as a project, a process of enhancement, modification, tinkering, active intervention that is realized in biology and culture. What results is a mechanistic understanding of the body, whose potentiality is directly dependent on externalized interventions made possible through technologies like germline genetic engineering and implantable technology. While the means involve scientific advancements in emerging technologies, the end is optimization. Well, I'm here today to let you in on a little secret. So I'm going to say that again, and then I want you to say, what's the secret? Okay? It's just a dramatic move into our next. Well, I'm here today to let you in on a little secret. What's the secret? I wish you would come to my class in Boston University. You're so attentive, so attentive. I have to talk to my students about this. Induced optimization through biohacking is not, I repeat, not a new occurrence. Ross Cutlass, in her essay, Ancestral Tech and the Future of the Black Body, argues that ancestral technologies employed by people of African descent to resist dehumanization are forms of biohacking, and that these technologies were in use before our current digital age. In this manner, I want to suggest here that Africana conjuring traditions like hoodoo have provided and still provide viable ways that practitioners can enhance their lives through ritually hacking their bodies. Now it's time for me to prove it, right? Hoodoo practitioners of African descent represent those who have strategically hacked nature and bodies to enhance human experience. They employ Black bodily technologies and diverse ways to achieve circumstantial shifts in their lives and those who petition them. Zora Neale Hurston's pioneering work, Hoodoo in America, provides concrete examples of technologies practitioners use to hack their bodies in order to promote human enhancement. For instance, drinking fixed bottles prepared by hoodoo practitioners rids the client's bodies of contaminants. The goal, to restore one's health to an optimal level. Ingredients of these bottles vary, but could include different types of peppers, garlic, a plant that is commonly known among hoodoo practitioners as the devil's dung, quicksilver, and rum. Hurston also highlighted how practitioners utilize magnetized objects. And this was in the 1900s, early 1900s. Hurston also highlighted how practitioners utilize magnetized objects to enhance their petitioning clients' relational circumstances. Magnetized wearables, whether in the form of a metallic saint garter, a neck sack containing magnetic sand, or a string of metal coins, were used to tap the bodily energy of the client, aligning it with the energy of the object. This alignment of energies, as cited in Hurston's work, draws positive relationships economic security, protection, and optimal health conditions. These results represent concretized improvement of the petitioning client's condition. In addition to ingestible and wearable technologies, other biohacking methods included the temporary implementation of objects into the body. Select hoodoo practitioners interviewed by Hurston purported the benefits of sucking on copper pennies and silver money. Inserted metallic coins operated as a mode of detection. The following is an example of a ritual prescription that captures the process of detectable implementation. So these are the words of Hurston here. Either put a piece of silver money in the mouth of the patient. Notice, it's not a client. The hoodooist saw them as patients. The patient, or bind it to the flesh. If it turns black, he is poisoned. If so, take a file and file some silver off the money and give it to him to drink in white rum or milk from a red or black cow. Their milk is the strongest. Interestingly, Hurston highlights that these coins can operate as either an ingestible or a wearable object. Ingesting the metallic coin serves as a way to detect bodily contamination. There's a science behind this, everyone. High levels of enzymes, whether it's amylase or lipase, from the client's saliva causes the oxidation of the base metal of the coin, which results in its blackness. For practitioners, this chemical reaction indicates an imbalance in the body that quite often correlated to the presence of poison. Not only is the metal coin a detector, but it serves as a vital role in the solution. The mixing of the metal shavings in a solvent like milk produces a solution that acts as a laxative, meant to purge contaminants and return the body to a more optimized state. Metal coins resulting mixtures function as temporary implantable technologies that detect and recalibrate and augment biological capabilities. What this ritual prescription demonstrates is the presence of processes akin to a subculture of biohackers known as grinders, whose primary objective is to improve the human condition through the implementation of cybernetic devices. Although grinders pursue long-term implementation, hoodoo practitioners, as demonstrated in the previous examples drawn from Hurston's work, employ devices to both hack and optimize the bodies of their clients. Hoodoo practitioners strategically manipulate materiality like plants, alcohol, and coins in conjunction with the body to shift their clients' circumstantial conditions. These instances of materiality, whether in organic and inorganic forms, can be thought of as techno-conjuring devices. You've heard that. Technological devices that reconfigure nature to achieve diverse types of human enhancement. Enhancement results from the convergence of device and body. For those of African descent who wear or ingest these devices, they are no longer subject to just a mechanistic view based on race. Instead, their bodies are technological conduits that transform the human condition through the blending of body and technology. Those who adorn or ingest hoodoo paraphernalia are not necessarily best understood as cyborgs. That's not a language I would use to describe what's going on here. Instead, they are transhuman, For they, according to digital Black religious studies scholars Philip Butler, they simultaneously accept Blackness as an identity marker and possess fluid identities that complicate racialized, static self-boundaries by transcending them. This desire to complicate Blackness connects this second mini quest to the final one. Our last quest, are we ready? Yes. We have about 10 minutes, we have to move fast. Our last quest plunges us into the world of voodoo and video games. What is voodoo? Voodoo is not what you see on TV, read in popular culture. Voodoo is the product of the Mississippi River Valley. It is a blended system composed of elements drawn from Haitian Vodou, Yoruba-based religiosities like Santeria, that's heavily practiced in Cuba, localized forms of conjure like hoodoo and Catholicism. Because of this blendedness, voodoo has a complex cosmological system that is mediated through human-divine interactions. Human actions, primarily occurring through ritual practices, are meant to invoke divine intermediaries. And these divine intermediaries are called loas. Can we say loas? Loas. They call them to action. Practitioners call them to action. Human divine engagement is meant to tap into the life-giving force of loas, these divine intermediaries. These life energies in turn yield beneficial outcomes like healing, economic stability, sociocultural empowerment, protection, and healthy relationship. Simply put, voodoo is a beautifully rich Africana religious tradition. However, in the world of video games, the complexities of voodoo are reduced to harming magical rituals, violence, and criminality. The description of the game Shadow Man illustrates this type of reduction. And this, when you play Shadow Man, you get a manual, and this is in the manual. Set against the mysterious backdrop of voodoo mythology, Shadow Man puts you in the role of Mike Leroy, English literature student turned hired assassin. He operates within the mythic, seedy underworld of New Orleans, where Mama Nettie, the powerful voodoo sorceress who created Shadow Man by forcibly implanting the powerful shadow mask into Mike's chest, dreams of the coming apocalypse. She commands Shadow Man to step across the veil into dead side and kill the evil spirits of murderers and madmen to save mankind. The game plunges you into the darkly beating heart of all of that is, has ever been, and ever will be evil. End quote. This is what you read before you play the game. Implicit in this description is a stereotypical conception of voodoo. Voodoo, along with those who practice it like Mama Nettie, is presented to the player as a form of evil sorcery. Nevertheless, there is an implicit correlation captured in this same description. The developers of this game racialize voodoo by using the digital Black bodies of Mike Leroy, who becomes Shadow Man, and Mama Nettie. Throughout the entire gameplay, criminality, violence, sexual deviance, monstrosity, and moral decay are filtered through a fabricated representation of voodoo, which results in the construction of stereotypical depictions of Blackness. This desire of game developers to create digital worlds that allows gamers to play with stereotypical racialized voodoo did not begin in the 1990s with Shadow Man, but in the 1970s with digital games like Voodoo Castle. Even in the contemporary world of digital gaming, players continue to play with the reductionistic form of voodoo. Again, one characterized by race, violence, destruction, and criminality. For instance, in Saints Row, the Sons of Samedi is a Haitian drug cartel whose operation is heavily influenced by voodoo. They are known for selling a cocaine, this is in the game, they are known for selling a cocaine-based drug called Loa dust. And you know Loas are sacred beings. Here, the Loas are no longer powerful spirit intermediaries responsible for healing, guiding, and protecting those who serve them. Instead, Loas as a whole are reduced to a highly addictive, smokable form of cocaine. Profanity consumes that which has been designed to be sacred in voodoo. Other games will follow this form of degradation. While a consideration of how fabricated forms of voodoo are encoded in video games is essential to our discussion today, equally important are the ways that Black gamers respond to this stereotypical representation. Specifically, Black gamers talk back to these digital misrepresentations of Blackness and voodoo using their live streaming platforms. Black gamers enact what I refer to as liminal back talk. They dare to speak against digital depictions of Blackness even as they play with these problematic Black characters like Shadow Man that are put in place by game developers who act as authority figures. Their voices sound at the in-between spaces between offline and online media. Many instances of liminal back talk against these narrow depictions of Blackness can be heard across various streaming platforms. While analysis of these games are warranted our attention today, for a moment I want to just look at the ways in which Black gamers engage a game called Cyberpunk 2077. It is worth considering because this game within its story quest uses, again, voodoo to disseminate negative images of Blackness that are informed by trauma, criminality, and violence. Additionally, the different ways that Black gamers play and interact with Cyber 2077, and this is the year 2077, puts on full display the variation of liminal back talk and its usage in countering these demeaning stereotypes. No other story quest wonderfully captures this talking back to religio-racially fueled stereotypes like this quest called The Damned. That's the name of the quest. It is the fifth main quest in Cyberpunk 2077. In this quest, V, who is the protagonist, and Solomon Reed, who is a non-playable Black character, must infiltrate the hiding spot of the Voodoo Boys to access information from his prominent leader. His name is Slider. In the game, Slider is what you call a net runner. He is a hacker whose body has been augmented with a cybernetic interface that allows him to integrate and move into cyberspace and then back offline. Don't forget, this is 2077. The Voodoo Boys are a co-gendered hacker cult composed of for-hire assassins and highly skilled net runners like Slider, of Haitian descent who want to breach the Black wall to access dark, powerful intelligences. Akin to the character Shadow Man, the Voodoo Boys are not seen conducting specific rituals associated with voodoo in the game. However, cosmological symbols drawn from voodoo are misappropriated all over the game. Voodoo Boys' hangouts are covered with skulls. Their weapons are known as gris-gris weapons, another word for voodoo, but it's been weaponized. The game even reduces divine intermediaries in voodoo to a single powerful rogue artificial intelligence that resides behind or beyond the black wall called the Rada Loa. Collectively, these symbols are employed to further perpetuate the Voodoo Boys as a heartless, sinister gang of criminals. Employing platforms, I have 5 more minutes. Employing platforms like YouTube and Twitch to live stream, Black gamers are both engaging these stereotypes associated with the Voodoo Boys while simultaneously talking back to these images through their liminal online positionalities as they live stream their gameplay. For example, at the end of the Damned Quest, one Black gamer who's known as the Gamer 2323, acknowledges the horrific death of Slider. Instead of focusing on Reed's, the other character's lack of empathy, the Gamer 2323 offers a loud verbal response to Slider's condition. He says, while he's streaming, "Yo, he died." Then the Gamer 2323 talks back to the other Black character that's in the game and said, "I told you he was too old to do this. Now he's gone." He's talking to the game. Captured in this response is regret. For the Gamer 2323's avatar to successfully complete the mission, Slider had to use his body as a conduit to tap into the Black wall. The result of this connection, the frying of Slider's body. Reed urges V, who's being played by the Gamer, to finish the mission. However, the Gamer 2323 pauses the mission. He pauses the game. He goes to the game menu and selects story characters and reads aloud the biography of Wilkie Slider LaGure. Yes, Slider was a member of the Voodoo Boys. He carried out assassinations by employing his ability to move between material and virtual dimensions. This notwithstanding, this Black gamer takes a moment to remember this non-playable Black character. His remembrance acts as a non-verbal instance of liminal backtalk. Slider, for him, Slider's digital Black body mattered, despite the specific racist and capitalist modes of video game production. Enacted here is a ritual of remembrance, a live streaming ritual performed by a Black gamer to recognize the humanity of Slider while countering the humanizing representations of him based upon racial, lies, criminality, monstrosity, and trauma. This exploration of the world of Black gamers opens opportunities to discuss nuanced interconnections between religion, creativity, and identity construction. Black gamers like the Gamer 2323 mine digital spaces in very unique ways, creating diverse outputs that counter hegemonically fueled representations of Blackness in digital gaming. The gameplay of Cyberpunk 2077 by gamers like the Gamer 2323 further forefronts entanglements of race and space and scholarly approaches to the study of Africana religions. Specifically, they employ their liminal positionalities to talk back to degrading depictions of Blackness in the game. These images are specifically filtered through the racialization of voodoo, characterized by malicious intent, criminality, monstrosity, and violence, and in turn are projected onto the digital Black bodies of characters like Mama Nettie, the Voodoo Boys, Shadow Man. Thus, it is vital to analyze the ways that the gaming industry continue to misappropriate complex Africana religions like voodoo. While Black gamers employ gaming to resist dehumanization and to create complex identities and push toward a greater sense of meaningfulness, their activities capture a historical continuum of Africana people's engagement of various modes of technology. Gaming, techno-conjuring devices, and social media platforms represent digital and analog technologies employed by African-descended people to simultaneously wrestle with historical racialized signification and to ascertain an ultimate sense of beingness, one hinged on porous, multidimensional self-representations. These technologies, as we have witnessed in each of our 3 many quests, allow witches, hoodoo practitioners, and gamers of African descent to construct identities at the crossroads between Africana religiosities and digital technologies. Thank you.